Perfect. And hey, everybody, we've got a really dope episode with us today. We have the girls from Scan, Miss Victoria and Miss Ilse. And then behind the camera, we have our intern, which you can't see or hear this time around, Miss Caro. She's helping me run the board and the camera today. So shout out to you. Thank you. Anyways, welcome back to another episode of Aliens on the Border. Hit that fucking theme song.
Aliens on the border.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found.
Faster than light, spaceship of the future.
By direction of the President of the United States, stay in your home.
Is it human or inhuman? Earthly or unearthly?
Born in that swirling inferno of radioactive dust, there is no word to describe them.
We may be witnesses to a biblical prophecy come true.
Why is it that we usually ignore the fourth dimension?
Is this the human race of the future?
Aliens on the border.
What's up, people? We've got a very interesting episode today, and in honor of Women's History Month, we're kind of going to get into something that we don't always necessarily get into. Another thing that is kind of uncommon for our episodes is the feminine perspective on any sort of different topic. Maybe that's a bad thing, maybe it's a good thing, I don't know. But in any case, what's up, ladies? How are you guys doing today?
Hello.
Hi. Pretty cool intro, by the way.
Thank you. It's fun. I like it. I hope you guys didn't feel like, whoa, what the hell is this? What did I sign up for?
Alien stuff.
Yeah, right. And it's hardly ever even about aliens, surprisingly enough, right? It's a bit of a triple entendre, but we can get into that later. In any case, so I wanted to have you guys on today because we ran into each other, chance interaction, chance meet, I don't know, whatever the phrase is, at the parking lot of Cultura, and I was like, hey, you know what? We should talk about consent. Yeah. And that's what we're here to do today, guys. So introduce yourselves, if you may.
So I'm Victoria Serna, and I'm the primary prevention coordinator at SCAN for the Sexual Assault Services and Information Program.
And hello, my name is Ilse Saucedo, and I also work with Victoria. I'm a primary prevention educator. So we go to schools, we talk to the kiddos, actually the youth, about prevention on violence.
Awesome. And before we get into the matter at hand and go through these cool little visuals that you brought along with you guys today, let's just get into a little bit of the background of like how you guys got to where you're at right now. If you don't mind me starting with you, Victoria, how did you get into this position?
I was transferred. Okay. And I gladly, before I get into like what I'm going to say, this might be a trigger warning, this conversation for certain people, because we are going to get into the depths of what consent is. Nothing too explicit, but I am going to bring out some examples. But anyways, I got into this job. I was transferred, and I gladly accepted it because, why not take a new opportunity? And I felt that people need to be protected in terms of prevention when it comes to sexual assault. And I myself have had a lot of family relatives that have gone through sexual assault, and I love them so much. And so I went into the job with that hope.
What were you doing prior to that?
I was a case manager for co-occurring disorders.
For what, I'm sorry?
Co-occurring disorders, so it's basically like mental health and substance use disorders.
Oh, okay. Got it. And Ilse, what about yourself?
On the contrary, everything, the complete opposite. I was a stay-at-home mom for 7 years, and I graduated past almost a year ago, July. So I just, 2 months in, without looking for a job, I applied for SCAN, and they gave me the opportunity, not even knowing what I was going into. I was like, oh, okay, the Sexual Assault and Services Information. So I was like, okay, it's a good starter. And then I started really getting all this information, looking into all this material, learning from Victoria, learning from just everything that they do, and it's very eye-opening. So I'm pretty blessed to be here.
I'm glad to have you guys on to kind of shed light on something that I don't think really gets talked about enough. In the same vein that you mentioned that you know a lot of people around you. I had never really thought about it myself until, like, I don't know, having like deeper conversations with some people where it's come to light, where it's like, wow, like people you don't expect that have gone through some traumatizing stuff, and it's insane. And honestly, I don't know where I stand as far as like is it talked about enough? Is it something that gets ignored, just gets swept under the rug? I don't know, because maybe I'm just like proving my own ignorance here, but it probably does, right? Like it just.
Well, actually, I think like if people don't talk about it, it's like it's not happening. So I mean, we need to talk about these things.
Are you guys both from Laredo?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Like born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Because I was curious to look, like, just kind of take a picture, or look at rather the culture.
We look foreign.
No. No, that's not what I was getting at. What I was trying to say was like, I wonder if it's because of the culture in Laredo to where it's kind of like not really talked about. Like if it's just a macrocosm of the predominant, I guess, like Mexican machista culture.
Yeah,
Do you think that's like a?
There's so many things that plays a part into it, into the rape culture, right? And I guess that's a really good point to start on. I used to think rape culture was just about, rape. I didn't think it was about catcalling or, faulty beliefs of what sex is, of what, even gender conformity plays a part in rape culture. And just general hostility towards women. Like if you're making sexist jokes, you're already contributing to the rape culture.
The upbringing of your boys, your kids, it's very important, because we just teach our girls, don't do this, or we even scare them about sex. But it's like, are we even teaching the boys about having healthy relationships, about not being asking a girl for permission, or not naming them, or catcalling them, which is pretty sad, because it happens since middle school that I can remember.
Yeah, and again, it's like subtext that's just woven into culture that you never really even think about. It's like I was saying before, when we were kind of going through like a little bit of prep before this, we did prep, guys. I was talking about like the idea of consent, and again, not to paint myself into a corner here, but like it's just something that I never necessarily thought about, because it, like the encounters that I've had with the opposite sex, or what have you, like, thankfully they've been framed in a position of what I perceive to be consent. You know what I mean? And again, I might be painting myself into a corner here, but
I mean, it makes so much sense as to not really understand. Like we think there's a gray area, or we think like, oh, feminazis, or, there's just all these words and opinions. And when it really comes down to it, the definition of consent and what is sexual assault isn't really debatable.
Right.
And so like I'd love to go through that like gray area in a lot of people's minds, and to really talk about like what is it, so people can find themselves accountable. Or maybe, if there's a rumor going around at school, it's like, wait, that girl was drunk, or well, hold on, doesn't matter what she was wearing. And we can not just have these conversations of debates, but really, really spread knowledge on what it is, because that's what's so important. And we can't be blaming survivors if, we know what it is.
And I think that's a good segue to jump into like the first thing that I kind of want to get into is like, what is consent? Can we like deconstruct that and give like a clear definition for it?
Definitely. So there's like 4 concepts that we teach what consent is. So it's clear, it's coherent, it's willing, and it's ongoing. So the first thing is it's clear. You know that the person wants to have sex with you. You know the person wants to, do XYZ with you, either through actions or through words. They can say it. Or, I tell my kids this. It's like not my actual, but my students
right,
in the
okay.
school setting.
Okay.
And I will teach my kids this if I do ever have kids, but I tell them, so words aside, how do you know if someone's down? And they'll think about it, and they'll say, well, body language. If someone's just
you're
staying
like reading
still,
my mind right now.
if someone's just staying still, then why are you going to continue going for it, or
sure,
touching them inappropriately or whatever it is? So that's clear, right?
Yes means yes, no means no.
Right. And also, like, silence is also not necessarily consent, and that's where it can kind of get tricky, but that's where I say it goes down to, like, body language. Or so if someone's saying, like, I don't know, I'm not sure, maybe, that doesn't give you the right to persuade them.
Right, okay.
Because you would be persuading them to do something that they otherwise don't want to do. They're already giving you an answer. Like, it's a no. If they're not sure, then they don't want to do it.
So in that situation, would then the person that is unsure, if they of their own volition move to like a certainty of like, okay, let's do it, then that would be considered consent, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. All right. That makes perfect sense to me. And again, like the whole idea of body language is definitely like a huge thing, because that, if I can like recount, encounters or whatever, is like the basis of what moves people from point A to point B, if you will, right? Or like
First
to
base,
get
second
down.
base.
First base, second base,
Yes,
third
old
base,
school.
home run, yeah, all of that type of stuff. And I don't know, like again, it's very striking when I was just having a conversation with my girlfriend about the marches that were happening in Mexico. So she lived in Monterrey for a couple of years, or actually a lot of years, like pretty much all of her adolescence. I want to say like maybe 8 years or so, 8-9 years, give or take. Don't hate me if I'm wrong, babe. I'm sorry. But yeah, and like a lot of the people that she knew in her time there were like marching and speaking out. And I just thought it was crazy, the backlash that they were getting from Mexican men, where it's like, we're gonna kill you, or like, we're gonna berate you until.
You mean from the people that are benefiting from oppressing women?
Exactly, right. is that what it boils down to? Like
It boils down, so sexual assault really boils down to an indifference in power, and that person's trying to gain power and control. It's not about not being able to find someone to have sex with. It's not about, anything else other than violence. It's a straight, deliberate attack. Like, even if, you're in love with the person, you think he loves you, he's manipulating you, whatever it is, any form of abuse or violence stems from power and control issues.
What are some forms of abuse that can be mistaken for like love, for example?
So that, I guess that brings me to another valid point of like what consent is. So another example is,
would you
like,
mind just pointing the mic towards you? Sorry.
Yeah.
So you keep talking away from it a little bit.
I know, it's because I have my list like right
okay,
here.
yeah,
But
no worries.
I tell
move
my
it however you'd like. Yeah.
I tell my consent.
Yeah.
I tell my kids, my students, that if someone's like, let's say you're in a relationship and you're trying new things and it's really exciting, but maybe you realize that you're not so sure you do want to like do the deed. Let's say your boyfriend or girlfriend comes at you with a curveball and says, "Oh, it's because I really love you. We've been waiting for a year, and I just feel like you don't love me back. It's like I'm giving you my everything. If you don't want to do this with me, then you don't love me. How can I be with someone that doesn't love me?" And unfortunately, like, some girls do fall for it, or guys fall for it, or guys would fall for it in the case where they feel that their masculinity is being threatened.
Okay.
And especially when kids are younger, when young boys are younger, it's a very delicate subject. You know.
Yeah, I mean, i.e. I'm a guy, so I understand that. And definitely there is like if I can go back to high school, and like, to be completely honest, I didn't lose my virginity till after high school. So it was like, but I remember there being a pressure. There was a situation where I was maybe victimized a little bit, but I just didn't think about it in that way, because I'm a guy, like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, too bad, dude, some guy wanted to have sex with you, or some guy,
like, poor you.
Well, maybe a guy, right? Now some chick wanted to
him.
have sex with you, but like
why would you complain?
Exactly,
right? How sad. But that's how it is.
True, true.
And we're not respecting young boys or men's sexuality, because we believe, or there's a stigma that boys or men are always going to be sexually readily available because they're just, sexual creatures. And that's not necessarily, that's a stigma. You're your own person. We all have different libidos, and, doesn't matter what time of the day, you have the right to say no, even if you're a guy. And guys do get taken advantage of, and unfortunately are unable to say no, because it's like, what you went through, like, what are they going to say?
Yeah.
I'm going to be a wuss, or they're going to think I'm a, right.
Yeah, you're gonna think I'm gay or whatever, or stuff like that. And again, you've been triggered, which you did, which I completely forgot to do at the beginning of the podcast, which I said I was gonna do. But yeah, like it was just like, thinking about it now, it's just like, oh, I guess that happened. And maybe I'm like apologizing for myself in a weird way, but like it wasn't necessarily like a super traumatizing experience. It was uncomfortable at the moment, though. Like, I clearly remember being like, what the hell is going on right now? But
we also grew up in a different
culture.
In a different how do you say it, there were different times.
Right,
and
right.
before our moms or dads wouldn't talk to us about sex. It would just be like,
100%.
like things are going to change from now on. And it was a taboo subject. So now that kids are getting this information, they're more capable of knowing when to say yes or when to say no, and breaking that barrier.
Honestly, I shit you not, I really don't think that I ever had like the talk with my parents. It's
Me
like I have
neither.
super traditional like
because of-
Mexican conservative
My mom
parents.
was like, oh my gosh, when I had you, I was young and it was so painful, and like that scared me. Or like my first time was so painful, like, oh my god, and that like traumatized me, you know what I mean? And I'm not trying to say that like, you know, I should have been having sex at that age, but it's just when I got older, that trauma stayed with me.
Right.
And it was hard to like really embrace that, like we all have a sexual side to ourselves, and you know, we all want to be loved, and that's like a key part of like sex for a lot of us. Like we all want to be loved, and you know, we all want to explore that side of us, but a lot of us really don't know about boundaries. We really don't know about consent. We don't even know our rights.
That's true. And before we branch off to this one tangent, because you just hit something that I really wanted to get into, but the whole like not having the talk and stuff, and I guess like a shared experience that we've all had here, and I've had countless other friends and whatnot tell me the exact same thing, and it's just like I think that kind of propagates maybe the quote unquote like gray area for people, because if we're not really being clear, or if at least they weren't clear with us in our upbringing, then how are we, you know, like the blind leading the blind essentially, and just like fumbling about. Also though, like with if situations, this is maybe like a rule of thumb that I kind of thought about myself, because as I remember growing up, as from like transitioning from like high school to like college and whatnot, and like, oh, now we're going out to bars and drinking, and you know, like being a little bit, including extracurricular activities, if you will. Then it came onto my radar with the whole like date rape and like people getting their drinks drugged, and I guess I give people the benefit of the doubt a lot, and like again, it's like never really on my radar until it happened to someone that I know close to me. And then since then I was like, all right, dude, like really, like if I'm ever out with like my girlfriend and her friends, or if I'm out with like my friends that are just in general, like I'm a little bit more cognizant of that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so like throughout that time, one of the things that I kind of like just, I guess, internalized from like these anecdotes here and there was like, if it ever does feel like a gray area, then just fucking back off, dude.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean?
That brings me to my other point of like what consent. So coherent. Is the person coherent enough? Like, do they understand who, what, when, where, why of the situation? You know, you have to fully be in your senses. I like to say like drunk-ish, you know, because I mean, to a certain extent, like that filter just completely goes away, or like mostly goes away, and you would be doing things that you would never do if you were sober. And so, you know, you really want to trust the people that you're around. It's not about the person being drunk that's taken advantage of. You know, it's not their fault. It's more of like, well, let's fault the rapist.
100%.
Because like if someone doesn't, you know, someone's barely standing still or doing things that you know that they wouldn't do if they were sober, then why would you want to take advantage of them? Like that's blatantly violent. So yeah, people incapacitated by drugs or alcohol cannot consent. Someone who cannot make a rational, reasonable decision because he or she lacks the capacity to understand the situation just can't consent. And that also pertains to people if they're coming off anesthesia. Like I remember I got my wisdom teeth taken out. I don't think it's anesthesia, but still I was like heavily sedated, and my ex picked me up. And it's like, well, I was in a vulnerable position, you know, and thank God, obviously I could trust him. But yeah, or like if someone's sleeping.
True.
Unless you're okay with that and you have that little thing going on with your boyfriend. It's like, okay, if I'm sleeping, like, yeah, you can wake me up whenever, it's fine.
It's a fucking lie, guys. Don't ever believe it.
And
but don't do it.
It also applies to marital rape. Because sometimes, I mean, you could be sleeping and he could just wake you up and, oh, I want to do it. No, I don't. Like, you have to respect those boundaries, and you have to be consenting to that.
And I was making a joke with the statement I just threw out there. But no, in a serious matter, though, like, guys or girls, if your partner, again, either the guy or the girl is like, dude, go for it, even if I'm asleep, take that with a fucking grain of salt, my guy or my girl, because it's not like, it's just some people just say some shit in the heat of the moment sometimes, and it's like to appease for a lot of the. And I'm speaking like if I'm talking from experience, maybe I'm not, but what was it? Oh fuck, I totally lost my train of thought. Just fucking take care of yourself. All right, if you're ever in doubt, just go and take care of yourself, and just that'll be
I mean, that's definitely a protective factor. But you know, unfortunately, if it does happen or if it has happened, it's you do carry a lot of guilt, and I say you in general. There's a lot of guilt that's
She's
carried.
accusing me. No, I'm kidding.
There's a lot of guilt that's. I don't know.
I'm kidding.
I don't know
I'm
what
kidding.
Your subconscious looks like right
yeah,
now.
no,
Just
90% of everything I say is just me fucking around. So
no, I mean, like, play the devil's advocate. Most
sure,
definitely.
yeah.
Like, we need those conversations here.
Well, and this one, in the willing consent, we also give the example of when the kids or the teenagers go out on a date, and the guy pays for the movies, for the dinner,
right.
and I mean, he's your source of ride maybe, and he's taking you on this date.
The implication, like
yes,
it's fucking
and
always
it's
sunny.
the end of the
owe
date,
him.
and it's like, oh, so am I supposed to kiss him? Am I supposed to like give him something in return? So it's no pressure, girls.
Yeah, like
either
super
you pay
no
for
pressure.
your things, or just be like, okay, I mean, either she wants to, or I mean, that's her choice.
Like,
Right.
don't feel bad, you know, like
100%.
if you don't want to do, like, being sexual is a very like intimate part of you. Even if people so you can take it loosely for yourself, but it's still something that, you know, if you're going to do something, you want to make sure that it's because you really want to do it and not because you feel bad or someone's guilt tripping you or manipulating you by telling you that they love you or whatever. And like, it doesn't matter what they've done for you. You don't have to pay them in sex. You don't have to pay them in anything. People are doing things because they want to like be kind to you. They want to be nice. And like, if they're pressuring you or like throwing it back in your face, well, I bought you this or I did this for you, then I mean, do you want to be with that person?
Yeah.
Should you?
Red fucking flag.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I can only speak from personal experience, and this is something that again, that like point of view from like a woman's perspective, never thought of, because myself, like that was never my intention with like taking a girl out on a date and let's go to the movies and I'm like, I'll pay for it and all that. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, let's go do something, as opposed to like, I'm gonna entrap you into
like this
sex
is the goal
or whatever. Yeah,
I feel like you can include the moment of realization.
Yeah, and I feel so dumb, dude. Like sometimes I just don't consider things like, and a lot of it has been pointed out as I've gotten older and like been dating, and like this relationship that I've been in now for like a little bit over a year. Like every relationship is a little bit different, and I've had to deal with stuff that comes with the territory, right, so to speak. And girl I'm dating, she's actually right here, beautiful woman, whatever. So she deals with a lot of stuff like that like
external attention, like unwanted attention, maybe.
Exactly.
Okay.
And like it kind of sounds like I'm shitting on my exes. It's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just a little bit more cognizant of it now, you know what I mean? Like I guess as I'm older or whatever. And she's also very vocal about like, hey, like boundaries and shit like that, to obviously not to me, but like to other people. Well, yes, to me. And all right, I'm like fucking vilifying myself more and more.
I mean, but even
you know what I mean,
look,
right?
you're gonna loosen up your boundaries the closer you get to somebody. You know what I mean? Like that's just that's just the closest you can get to somebody is through sex.
I feel like I keep putting my foot in my mouth so much this episode. It'll be fucking hilarious watching it back.
I mean, we all learn slowly but surely, but even when you're with your partner, you're not going to try everything all at once.
Exactly.
It's going to be like, okay, we did this time, okay, I liked it, maybe I didn't like it this way, I like it the other way. So communication.
Your boundaries rely on comfort. Like
sure.
It's all about checking in with yourself and realizing, okay, so that's another freaking part of consent. That's why it's just so like, there's just so many levels to this, and it's important to break it down. If I did something with you one time, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to want to or have to do it again. Let's say I did it every single day last month, and you know what? Today's a new day and I'm just not feeling it. Whatever reason, I don't have to justify it. But like, I shouldn't feel pressured to repeat what I was doing just because you expect it.
Right.
Or let's say I said, yes, let's try something new. You know, let's do this. We talked about it. And then I back out. can I back out? If I already said yes, I can. At
Right,
any given
right.
moment, like if I'm in pain, or if I'm not feeling it, whatever it is, I have that right. And I feel like, you know, based off of personal experience, like when I was younger, it was like, oh my gosh, like I already said yes, ya valió, like, you know, and not necessarily in terms of sex, but in terms of like,
Any
it's
sort of, like-
embarrassing, you know,
Right,
when you're
right,
when
right.
you're younger and you're dating someone and you like them and you want them to like you, and it's just like, okay, you know, you're a lot more unaware of your sexual self and like and how you're thinking in
And
terms
more
of what
aware
you
of
feel.
like your
And even when we're
popularity or
adults,
like fitting in and shit like that, as opposed to caring for yourself and whatnot.
Yeah, there's like so many factors, and it all depends on like what you feel and like how they respect it in the moment. And if they're not respecting you in the moment, then they're just jerks.
and I was gonna say it might sound. I'm thinking about it, and it's to me it sounds a little funny, but it's not funny. That there's no lube in the world that can make you try something else if you don't want to. Like,
Yeah.
Facts.
quote me on that.
Unless you buy lube from our sponsors. I'm kidding.
And
No,
that was ongoing consent.
yeah. Okay. So
That was
the
ongoing consent.
ongoing consent is another layer of the entire thing.
Must
right?
be
So
granted at every single time, at every
course, of
single
course.
step, and it could be retracted.
It could be retracted. Don't be afraid to say no, even if you've already said yes.
Yeah.
It's a huge fucking thing. One of the things that I did want to talk about that you brought up again, like a little pre-show prep. I know you mentioned that. What are some things with boundaries? What are some things that people do that bother you? What is like the most common response that you normally get when you ask your students that?
You know, it's interesting. I don't like to read their papers. Like I
Oh,
ask
okay.
them to, but that's just me. I know they can give us their papers and not put their names on it, and I don't read them. I don't know why. I
Okay.
just feel.
Well,
but you have.
actually, the one that we did this past
Can you
couple
move
weeks,
your mic a little bit more this time?
The
There
one
you
we
go.
did a couple weeks ago was a week ago. The soccer team from high school, and they were all guys. So it was very eye-opening when you're just focused on the boys, and they can open up to you. And they did that at the end of our presentation with healthy relationships. Most of them were saying, we don't like it that our girlfriends tell us who we can talk to, who we can't talk to.
That's a big one.
I mean, and that's pretty common, even happens in marriage. But it's like, hey, you're two individual people, and you can't be telling her what to do, or what you can't do. She has to respect your
Boundaries.
Autonomy.
boundaries.
Autonomy, and then there's like a bit of a ebb and flow, if you will, of like a person's autonomy versus the other person's boundaries, right? Because like I was in a situation myself, even in this relationship that I'm in currently right now, where I was like, I'm not saying like excommunicate X, Y, or Z person. I'm telling you that there's a boundary. You can choose to respect it or not. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
and that's not and so that's an interesting topic that the kids kind of brought up, and it's like, well, ma'am, but what if I am flirting and they're upset? Okay, yeah, that's pretty, you know, understandable, but like, how are they going about it?
Yeah.
You know, are they going to be like insulting you? Because that's like toxic, and you know, I mean, if you're cheating on somebody, you're at fault. But then if the other person is bringing you down and like calling you all these ugly names and destroying your property, and you know, the list goes on and on,
you're
And you deserved it.
stressful.
No, I'm kidding.
sending you all these messages, it does become unhealthy, and then that person carries, I guess, the fault in the situation.
The fault in
And you know,
ourselves.
it's been very popular now that everybody's like, oh, el tóxico, la tóxica. And it's like, okay.
They
but
kind of turn it into a joke.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's not a joke because it's not a healthy relationship. And
Definitely not.
It's not
shouldn't-
fun.
Your
It's not,
relationship
it's not,
shouldn't
it's
be
really not.
stressed.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be stressful. So
They make light of it, but in reality, like, and my kid, and sometimes they'll joke around, you know, and they make light of the situation. I'm like, but y'all, like, are you really having fun in this
And-
relationship?
no, and they even put like la mini tóxica, and it's like, no, you don't want your children to learn those behaviors,
Of course.
because the cycle of abuse is learned behavior.
There it is. And I think that like one of the biggest weapons against that type of stuff is communication. And then learning how to effectively communicate, because then even when you try to communicate, you know, you end up inadvertently stepping on your partner's toes, or even like if it's just a friend or whatever, and you're like, but that's not what I'm trying to say. You're not getting my message. It's just like, well, maybe you're not saying it right.
There's
You know what I
so
mean?
many communication barriers. And going back to when I was a case manager, I would give like psychoeducation and give like little tips to like relationships. And a lot of this had to do with with communication barriers. So like there's just so many little examples, but if you start off by saying you did this, you, then that puts the person on defense, you know, and you're just being like offensive in a sense. There's just like a lot of things to learn, I guess, when it comes to like communicating and not necessarily blaming or like shifting blame to the other person. It's more the best way to go about it is you did, you did this action not in a, bad way, but it made me and especially you have to be in a very calm manner. If you're very heated and you're upset, walk away, take a few seconds, minutes, maybe hours if you need to calm down. Don't give them the silent treatment. That's obviously toxic and that's just going to cause them psychological pain. But when you're ready within that day, it's best to talk to them again once you're calm and then gently explain, this behavior was done. It made me feel this way. I reacted this way, blah, blah, blah. And then it's up to the other person. And people don't want to show vulnerability because they say that the other person's going to take advantage. And I think it works around the opposite way. Like once you know that you do this type of action, you'll know for certain that it hurts me because I told you. And so if you're going to be doing it again, then now I know for sure that you want to hurt me or you're deliberately just don't care. And that's enough for me to like end a relationship depending on like how severe the situation is. But that person just generally doesn't respect you.
I understand that. And I think like in the past year, actually in the past almost 2 years, I think I've learned a little bit more about like the components of like an interpersonal romantic relationship, and just kind of understanding like a secure attachment and an anxious attachment or like an avoidant one. And it's been crazy to like, I follow this Instagram on my personal, it's called The Secure Relationship, I think. And they post a lot of like really good stuff about that. And it's like, holy shit, they're describing me, or like, holy shit, I think they're describing my girlfriend. And it's like interesting to see it and like kind of internalize that and apply it. Because then it leads to, I think, deeper connections ultimately. And it just fortifies that relationship, whether it's like a romantic relationship or otherwise. Like it could just be, a friendship or I don't know how far it could go into like a business relationship. But like, just interpersonal relationships in general, I feel are paramount. Or at least me, I'm oddly enough misanthropic, but also I like people. And I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird combination. A little bit extroverted, introverted at the same time. And I'm sorry, I did not mean to cut you off. Were we going to pivot to something? No, cool, because I have to do a little bit of an ad read right now to pay some motherfucking bills. And this episode of Aliens on the Border is, of course, brought to you by Por Vida Tattoos. Check them out if you want to get some sweet-ass ink. Shout out to Gabe. Go to porvidacs.com. Book your tattoo appointment now. I know Gabe does a lot of amazing classic tattoos. Been tattooing Laredo since its inception. It's the best tattoo parlor around. Shout out to Por Vida Tattoos. Also, huge shout out to Consafos Print Company. If you like cool prints, cool t-shirts, cool stickers, totes, you name it, they got it. Make sure you check them out at consafosprintco.com. They got a bunch of badass gear. I'm not rocking their stuff today, but I have a couple of badass t-shirts that they printed out for us, or rather not for us, but some of their prints. They've got the Boys Don't Cry one, which I'm trying to get my hands on. If you're watching this now, that means that you probably visited them in San Antonio last weekend and cop some cool stuff. Again, that's consafosprintco.com. You can follow them at CSPrintco on Instagram. If you were following their old page, it got hacked, so they started a new one. Make sure you help them build up that followership once more. It's at CSPrintco. And finally, this episode is also brought to you by the International Por Vida Tattoo Fest that's happening this April the 22nd through the 24th. Go to porvidatattoofest.com for more information if you want to be featured on there as an artist or contribute as a sponsor to the festival or anything of that nature. Or just go check it out. Go get your tickets and go check it out. Again, porvidafesttattoo.com. Thank you once again, Gabe. Thank you, Por Vida. Thank you, Brenda with Consafos. Thank you, everybody that's helping us keep doing this podcast that we love to do. And if you're interested in becoming a sponsor for the show, make sure you email us at aotb.cast@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram at aotbcast. Anyways, back to the fun stuff.
I love that you brought up the Instagram reference to being a healthier person in relationships, because we have our Instagram account.
Ooh, plug them for
and
sure.
we talk about healthy relationships, and we talk about all these socio-emotional like concepts that we're talking about now and that don't really get talked about in depth. I mean, look, we've noticed the younger generation is more woke about these things, but not everyone is. And so even they follow our account. So it's at SASI_scan. So at sassy_SCAN. And we post there basically the things that we're talking about. So go ahead and give us a follow.
Our projects that are coming up.
What are projects that are coming up?
Yes. We're doing this Not in My Jeans project for April. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So we're very excited about this. We've been just brainstorming and talking to different local shops. And the point of this is to get our youth to involved in the awareness. So we asked them to paint a mixed media design on jeans based on the inspired on Denim Day, which is Victor will tell you right now about that. And this project is very special, and we are going to be exhibiting select jeans
Select
designs on local shops like Cafe Dolce, and
we have Los Olvidados.
Oh, nice. Shout out to Los Olvidados. Right down the block.
Yes.
Yes, they are. So we have Los Olvidados. They're going to give us about 10 slots for the students. We're going to have Cafe Dolce. Shout out to Vale.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Shout out
And
Cafe Dolce. They got some dope-ass paninis.
Cultura.
Shout out
And
to Cultura.
we're so excited to be showcasing this new project that we're building on. We're inspired by Denim Day. And Denim Day dates back to the origins of it. The origins. Very historical.
The origin story.
It
had an Uncle Ben.
Uncle
Uncle Ben got killed. I'm kidding. Sorry. Anyways.
insert Peter Parker crying
For
face. In 1992, there was this young teenager in Italy who got sexually assaulted by her driving instructor. And so the case was taken to the Supreme Court, and the judge overturned the case by stating that her jeans must have been so tight that she helped her assault her.
This is Italy, right?
In Italy.
Y'all should just stick to making pizza, bro. What the fuck are you doing? No, I'm kidding. I'm
It's
kidding.
horrible.
But that's fucking wild.
Everyone started wearing denim as
fucking wild. I don't even know what to say.
backlash, because
Yeah.
it's like it doesn't matter what you wear. Sexual assault has nothing to do with what you're wearing. It has everything to do with the person being the abductor, the assaulter, having control issues and power issues, and that's like the whole point of what sexual assault is. Nothing to do with what someone's wearing. Nothing to do with like, oh, she was really drunk, I didn't know. Some people just kind of get it, and others don't. And like Ilse was saying, it's like a learned trait. And so yeah, we're doing this to bring awareness to what sexual assault is, to get these conversations going. And so the students are just gonna, tear up the jeans, put beads in them. If you're listening, if you're a parent or if you're a student and you want to partake in this, we're offering community service hours.
Oh, nice.
25 community service hours.
Like
there you go.
giving them out. Just
Giving them out.
Y'all know you need at least 200 to graduate, maybe even more now. I don't know. But
Yeah, it's a lot. And so they're able to do this. And we're actually going to be putting them up in a little bit less than 2 weeks. So April 1st is going to be the reveal, hopefully at Los Olvidados.
So that's literally the week after you guys watch. No, wait, the Friday that this comes out. Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
right.
Dope. There you go. At Los
Right.
Olvidados will be the first exhibit, right?
Right. So
Okay,
you're welcome
dope.
to join. We haven't set up a date just yet, but the media is going to be there. And of course, the coffee's bomb.
Yeah, it is. Shout out to coffee. Do you guys partake in coffee or not?
I love coffee.
Yeah.
I just came off of like a whole stomach thing. Like today I finally feel normal. So I was
Good.
like, I'm not going to dive all the way back into coffee. I
Yeah.
just got a little matcha latte. And I was like, all right, that should
Oh,
be.
matcha's rough too.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's stronger.
Well,
You're good.
yeah, okay.
Confirmed.
I haven't exploded in the past hour. So I'm still alive. I'm still alive and well, and everything is good. But going back to the whole like denim day thing, like that's so crazy.
Oh, it's April 27th. So April 27th, wear your jeans and, post it. #Denim Day. Show your support.
I swear to God, I pretend to be a comedian every now and then. I'll do like stand up and at like some of the open mics around town. Shout out to the Mic Drop and all the other open mics. And like the inner dumbass in me keeps making like stupid ass remarks here and there, but I'm just like, shut the fuck up, Josh. Let's be serious for once. And that's one of my biggest problems, that I have a hard time being serious, is I poke fun at everything.
Yeah.
And I like, whether or not I'm trying to be funny, like it's hard for me to be serious. I don't know why, but that's just whatever. That's neither here nor there. Let's come back to what we were talking about with like the students that you guys present to and everything. Is it mostly like in high schools, bleeding over into college, or?
So we definitely feel that prevention should be taken down, not just at the high school levels, which is where we teach, but prevention starts, or should start, when the child could barely talk. That's when they're able to defend themselves. That's when they're able to really be cognizant or know what their private parts are, to ward off nasty pedophiles.
Yes.
For sure, 100%. Fuck pedophiles.
And to name
Jeffrey
body parts
properly.
Properly, how they're supposed to. Not name them Cookie, not name them. I'm guilty of that, because at the beginning I used to tell my son, "Oh, you're Turtle," because I remember in his sonogram it looked like a little turtle, but that was in the sonogram. But then a while back I was like, "Do you know what the name of your body part?" And he said, "Yes, my penis." I'm like, "Yes." So nobody should touch it. So it's things that parents should be really having this conversation with. Just like you learn head, shoulders, knees, and toes. This is your vagina. This is your dick.
Yeah, exactly.
Penis.
Yeah. It can get vulgar later.
Yes.
Whatever. But
it's just like one of those
anatomical
things
terms.
where it's important to name it for what it is.
100%.
There's a lot of stigma. There's so many words that can describe a vagina. There's so many words that can name a penis, and what that's doing is it's stigmatizing it as if it's perverted. It's your anatomy, first of all. It is what it is. And a child is more likely, if in the case that a child is going through sexual abuse, if they want to outcry and if they tell their mom, "Oh, he grabbed my cookie. Oh, sweetie, don't worry. We'll bake cookies tonight. Don't worry." It's like the message isn't going to be well received. They're not going to have an outcry that's going to be effective to where the adult can take them to get the treatment that they need. One, and two, if a predator is approaching the child and trying to grab them in their vagina or penis, and the kid goes, "Don't grab my penis," that's gonna scare the predator.
Yeah, I'd be like, "Oh shit."
Oh, he knows what he's talking about. This kid knows what's up.
Yeah, 100%. And I like it is weird because, again, like, just growing up, like, never really had the talk with my parents. Like, they weren't like, "Hey, that's your fucking penis," or "That's your anything." Like, it was all just kind of like taboo, and we're, for better or worse, left to our own devices and just like exploring in that direction.
And we actually learn the wrong way. We learn the wrong. We get a hold of the wrong information.
Exactly.
Specifically because they. Well, let's say you have an older sibling and they get into porn or something. So they teach you things that a child, teenager shouldn't be learning.
You get the wrong idea of sex.
100%. It's like, not with the power of the internet. Like, instead of like getting the actual talk now, it's just like, "Oh, dude, page 10 on Pornhub. What the fuck is on there?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's at everyone's fingertips now, and I don't know. I feel like it definitely lends to misunderstandings that can be prevented.
100%. Like, I used to, when I was younger, I was like, "Oh, whatever, like, it is what it is." But then when you start looking at the research of the negative effects of porn on people's minds and expectations, it's really unhealthy to bring into your relationship and expect that someone's going to like behave that way. And it makes there was a study done on males. Males are the ones that mostly watch porn. Not being sexist, this is all statistical.
Yeah.
And they're more likely to be more aggressive during sex.
Right.
You know? And then you get these nasty ideas of like, "Oh, like stepmom and stepson." It's just like,
who like, even, because there was clearly, as an avid porn consumer, maybe not, that's a joke. Is it? Who knows? But there was clearly, like, this sounds stupid, clearly a time where that was never anywhere. And then, like, from one day to the next, it was like all the fucking videos that are like the top videos are like step brother, sister, step mom, step dad. I was like, what the fuck? Where did this fetish even come from? Who did this?
Yeah, it's very perverse.
It's weird.
It is weird.
Sorry, super wrong tangent, but like,
no, it is. I mean, it's weird to talk about, but I mean, like, we're not we, you know,
humans
they're watching this in private. But if you really think about it, like, what are you feeding your brain? And like, that, you know what? I hate to say it, but I hate to say it? No, I don't. That's the least of the nastiness, that porn. You know, there's so many women and men on these porn websites. I don't even think people question, are they even having consensual sex when they're making these videos?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Are children being protected on Pornhub? Yeah. Have you heard of that before? No,
Wait, what?
Yeah, there's a lot of child pornography on these websites. They're not being monitored.
That's fucking crazy. I had no idea.
And it's like we're normalizing this, you know? It's like it's okay. Like the government is making this okay, whether they're doing it purposely or not. They're not really filtering these videos, and it's perpetuating all this negativity in the media that perpetuates our negative belief that goes into the rape culture.
That's crazy. Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about rape culture in just a second, but Ilse, I know you wanted to get something in. What were you going to say?
Oh, well, I mean, there's a lot of things going on in porn, and we just talked about the sibling and the stepsister and everything, but also those that are that dress up the producers, I guess, they have this idea of dressing up the girls in like little pigtails, little girl things.
Okay.
So
right.
I mean that's very, when you see it, it's very shocking and just stupid. What do you want to make an adult feel like, oh, he's having sex with a little girl or like, what?
I don't know.
You know?
Like,
that's very
making
disturbing.
them like not infantile, right? But like, I don't know what the proper word is, but I know what you're getting at, and that's also weird because it's like
it's alerting, like
exactly and it maybe in the subtext of it, like it kind of gets lost in like, oh, I'm just trying to see some porn or whatever the fuck, but like it is weird that a lot
even
of those
if it's
videos
acting,
are like that.
I mean,
bad acting, but
and that's the whole point of prevention. Like we can see preventioneers, we call it. You know, they call us preventioneers at
because we're from Texas.
Nice.
But it's like, oh, too sensitive. But it's like it all stems from the media, and it's like the programming that kids are watching. It's like the whole Pepe Le Pew. I don't know if you heard of that whole debate where it's like people took out. It's like, oh, it's stupid. And if I wasn't in this job, if I didn't know the research, if I wasn't in this, I wouldn't think that it was perpetuating, anti-consent, but it is. And so it's funny, and a lot of the ways that we can just surpass this idea is if we're laughing at it and we see it as no big deal, but it is proving a point that, oh, okay, like I'm laughing at something when like the girl's stressing out, and even though it's a cartoon character, even though it's for kids, it's still planting that seed where like it doesn't matter like what a guy does. If the girl is being uncomfortable, it's funny, it's whatever, no one cares.
I don't know. I think that context plays a huge part into things like that.
And speaking of context, I was just telling Victoria I was looking for the news. So in this news from, I don't know if I should say the city. Yes.
Yeah, why not?
From San Antonio. They posted this article about a woman finding her 7-year-old little girl in bed with a man, or
a 7-year-old girl, and the 50-year-old husband was in bed with a 7-year-old girl.
What the fuck?
And that's how they worded it.
I mean, and
that's
that they had the bed
clearly
up
just
to
child abuse.
and it's like hello. I even I commented, I was like, rename it. Like, that's not how you should be.
That's not the headline.
No.
Should be like 50-year-old pedophile.
Yes, he was sexually assaulting her.
Sexually assaulting a child.
Raping a child.
Raping a child, exactly. That's fucking crazy.
enrages. I don't know.
And it's these minuscule ways that we just like, oh,
words matter
you
in
don't
that
really
sense,
think,
for
you
sure.
don't
Yeah.
think deeply into it, but it's all going to the back of your mind. They're all sending they're priming your mind to think that it's okay, and it's the media.
I agree, and also though, like, could that just be someone that's stupid? You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
They're not intentionally being evil. They're just being stupid.
Yeah, but
you
it's
know what I
like
mean?
clickbait. Like you know how to word something so they can be
Also
like,
that, yeah. Does
oh,
it-
okay, but so really, and then
Because maybe like that, there had to have been a couple of different headlines before it got published, right? And they were like, which one is going to give people that exact reaction? Because I think that we engage a lot more on social media with things that infuriate us versus like things that we might agree with or that are like
That people don't care
appeasing,
about.
or like. So maybe that's why the headline's there. I mean, I don't know, man. The age that we live in now with social media at large is very interesting. It's like a huge experiment that we're all kind of seeing. Like,
I mean,
the goal is not to minimize these assaults.
100%.
So that
100%.
I mean, name it as it is. It was
exactly.
look, like that brings up a good point, what you were saying of how the media and how, the internet is kind of evil in that sense, where we're not protecting children and we're giving people the wrong ideas of what sexual assault is. An innocent 7-year-old Googles boobs. What is he going to find? You think he's just going to find a pair of what boobs look like, anatomical boobs? No.
Probably a whole bunch of crazy shit.
Whole bunch of porn, and then it goes into like the
The
nastiness.
rabbit hole, yeah.
Into the rabbit hole. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's intense, and then there is, I think, like a level of responsibility to the parent at that point, obviously, right? Like to be engaged and involved into your child's life to a degree where you're like,
where you're protecting them.
Exactly.
Children need to be protected.
Because the internet is, I think, is like a dual-edged sword, which is like one of the greatest revolutions to mankind because it's given us instantaneous access to all of the ascribed knowledge of the entire human population, right? But then, the other thing is like a 7-year-old can look up boobs, which is not great.
Which is innocent,
yeah.
and here's it from a kid in school, okay, boobs. And then what is he going to find?
Right.
And I know we're diving so much into this, but it brings me back to listening to my brother's stories or my cousins that about their manhood, that they used to go to the what's it called in Laredo, to the sauna.
La sauna.
And that was to prove your manhood. Like, oh, you would go with this prostitute, and
that's fucking crazy.
And it's like before, right now it was like funny, like, oh, haha, you did that, but really, like, you weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah, it's like that's crazy. I always use the word la zona as just like the tail end of a dumb joke that I'm throwing out there, just because I never had any personal experience with it. I just knew what it was, but that's intense. I don't think I've ever heard about that specifically.
I had a client once, and she was into a lot of things on talking about going into the internet and in real life as well too.
Talking about rabbit holes.
Yeah, she was like the deep dark web knowledge, like right in front of me, giving me all this information I didn't ask for. But I was a professional, and of course I was listening to her, and she was telling me about what happened in La Zona. Man, nothing to repeat. I don't even mention it to myself, but it's very dark and it's very creepy.
It sounds like a
and
traumatic place.
I mean, yeah, definitely. And we have to protect also like men's and adolescent growing boys' sexuality as well.
For sure.
Like,
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of a hard thing to do because when people think about the idea of sexism, for predominantly, I would say, I think it's fair to say that like maybe a lot of people see it in the sense of like men's power over women for the most part. Is that like a fair kind of take on it?
That's how people see it.
Exactly.
Because it's all about highlighting nowadays. It's like feminism. Let's highlight our struggles and women empowerment. But feminism is not just about women, and this is what a lot of people should. And it's awesome to understand that it's also about men. As we're breaking out of our gender boxes and out of trying or out of being
breaking glass ceilings,
glass ceilings, and not being what's the word, submissive, and being emotional,
Is it
submissive.
Oh, okay.
Women are raised to be submissive and
Got
be
it.
girly and like pink, and we're emotional
Cook,
beings
clean.
and cooking and cleaning, and we're artsy, and men are more of like the scientific mathematical route. Don't show emotion as a man, don't cry, boys don't cry. But in reality, we're all human. Boys should cry. Because
I
the
cry a lot.
only, well, okay, so a question. So what is the, I love that. But what is the only acceptable emotion that society sees as men, like a good expression for men?
Shit. I don't know. That's a good question. Fuck. Is there one that's like obvious that I'm just being dumb right now? I mean, like
No.
blanking
Okay,
it
just
out?
throw one out.
Just throw, okay, so men
Strong, I guess. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, but okay, so I guess I
Oh
would,
wait,
I
wait.
guess,
Emotional response,
Emotion.
yeah.
right? Anger.
Anger,
Right? Okay,
exactly.
right.
It's like, oh, he's angry, whatever. That's just how guys are. But no, like they're just like, it's so easy to just explode when you're repressing all these emotions because you can't cry. No one really cares to talk. It's like a girl thing where it's like, oh, girls cry and talk about their emotions. But hey, men are also humans too. Men also have emotions, and so we have to protect boys' emotions as well too. And
Hashtag
allow
protect men.
them protect men, talk about their emotions. We don't want them to explode, we don't want them to harm themselves. The highest rates of suicide
Are from men.
are from men.
The highest rates of rape are also from men because of jail. Am I wrong?
Because of what?
Jail?
Are also, I'm not sure of that statistic.
Okay, I heard that somewhere. I might be super wrong, and if I am, I'm dumb, so it's okay.
Hopefully Harvard said
Well,
it.
actually, thinking back, I remember my director said that women across the board were always susceptible to rape.
Facts.
But men, for some reason, they're more susceptible when they're at a vulnerable population, which is when they're children, and as they age, that susceptibility goes
Dissipates, yeah.
down.
Also, like, and this is true, I think, for both ends of the spectrum, whether male or female. I think we'd see like a lot clearer, not to get into data or whatever, but if people would talk about it, you know what I mean? Because like, there's, again, how many people do we all know that, like, whether it's a guy or a girl that went through something that can be categorized as sexual abuse that they just never reported,
There's levels.
right?
I mean, when I got into this job, I had no idea that I kind of experienced some form of that. And it's one of those things where once you know what it is, it's like, this comes,
Right,
from the
right,
back of my mind.
literally.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be penetration forced, because that's when you think rape, you think, it's forced without your consent, you might have been drunk, whatever the case may be, but you think it's this big dramatic event. Unfortunately, it's like that for some people, but not for everyone. It's like the little minuscule comments, or, maybe your professor said something a little bit inappropriate. Maybe your boyfriend kind of led you on to like have sex with you, even though he wasn't into you. He told you he loved you. That's manipulation into sex. It's these little ways that we don't really think about. And when it starts adding up, once you know what sexual assault is, you're able to fully realize like your experience, and we're all kind of connected in that sense. And like how I was talking about men too.
Right. Is there like a hierarchical distinction between sexual assault and rape? Like, as in, sexual
Yeah,
assault is like something that can be a
definitely.
little bit.
Definitely, and that
Isn't
goes
penetration, right? Then rape would be
correct.
penetration. Okay.
That
cool.
goes in, and so the whole sexual assault, it goes into the rape culture. So it's like the stigmas and the beliefs. Like if you watch a lot of porn and you believe that
I
sex is a
don't,
certain way,
okay.
you think sex is aggressive. You think sex, the girl should have pigtails or whatever it is. Like that's kind of like a war on women.
Right. Okay.
It definitely is. So that's a form of sexual assault. It's your beliefs. It starts with your beliefs.
Can the reverse also be true though? Like, if that is a war on women, what if there's a woman or a girl that like consumes a lot of porn and is like, all men must be muscular and have like 10-inch dicks and all this
No
other
one's
shit,
protected out here.
right? I'm only again trying to play devil's advocate. And be
No,
like,
most definitely. And
is that also like, would that then be like war on men as well, or?
Definitely. There's
Okay.
a lot of things that I've heard women say about men. Oh my gosh. Like there was this friend that told me, she had said something, she said something kind of rude after she and a guy hooked up.
An entanglement.
And I guess she didn't finish. And so she just put on her clothes and she said, okay, well, I'm going to go home and I'm going to, finish myself off. And like the guy was really nice. I know him. He's a nice friend. He's really nice. And it's like, why would she tell you that? Like, that's so mean.
Yeah.
It's like the expectation of like, oh, men suck because he didn't make me finish. And in reality, it's like, well, I mean, that's like also an unrealistic, unhealthy expectation. And that's also rude. Like you're being toxic.
Yeah, that's pretty mean. And it goes back to like actually, it doesn't go back to anything. But what I think it brings to the table is like the having like a healthy dialogue with the person that you're engaging into any sort of like sexual encounters with, where, you know what I mean? Like, hey,
of course, like I
to
like
make
this.
it a great fucking show for everybody,
I like this. I don't like this. And it just makes the experience a lot more funner.
Yeah.
When you're able to like completely let loose and the person knows what you like and what you don't like, and not in a like, oh, this, that, not in a way where you're like overly critiquing the person, because that's not cool either.
Right,
but when the
really
person knows your likes and your dislikes, another part of consent, it's funny that you mentioned that, because another part of consent, I went to the National Sexual Assault Conference in Philadelphia before COVID, BC.
Right, BC. Holy shit. You heard it here first, people.
Right. No, it was like a whole experience. And so I brought up the clear consent, the clear, coherent, willing, and ongoing aspects to consent. And she had another aspect, which is fun.
Okay.
You want to have fun. It could be all those things. Like it could be clear, it could be coherent, you could be sober. You could be willing to do it. Maybe the person there's not a power difference, you're of age. It could be ongoing. But you also want to have fun.
True.
Whether you love the person or not.
Yeah. Agreed. Because then if it's not fun, then like, what are we doing? You know what I mean?
Right. Then are you respecting your boundaries?
Yeah. Like if it's not fun, then maybe one of the other components isn't there altogether or something. I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, it's a component in itself.
True.
Because if it's not, then you're like, yeah, it could be all out of respect. But if you're not really enjoying yourself, then sometimes it's the opposite. It could be. I feel like for a lot of people, like if they're not enjoying it, especially this is just conversational talk.
Of course.
But I was having this conversation with a group of girlfriends, and we were talking about how the difference of conversations when girls have sexual experiences and guys have sexual experiences. The guys are just like, okay, well, we did it. I got laid. And then a girl could be more so like, oh, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like,
first
it could be
this, then we did that.
I don't know. It's speaking from the other side of the spectrum here. I think that like we as guys, not to fucking reveal any of our secrets, but I think there's a little bit more to that. I think it just depends on like who we're talking to, because there's some, like with friends that we feel a little bit more comfortable like talking about that type of stuff too.
Generalizing, it's like we call it locker room talk.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly it. But at the same time, I've noticed like even within my current like friend group and stuff that when it comes to talking about like sex that with our significant other, we're a lot more reserved, because like I don't know what it is, but we just don't really get into it. And I think that maybe women are a little bit more open to like, hey, like, like if you let's say for example in this situation, just hypothetical here, like you're in a relationship with someone and you're hanging out with your girlfriends, are you more likely to talk about like the sex that you have within that relationship to your girlfriends? Like, is that? I
think that's a personal boundary,
right?
Like you can kiss and tell if you want to. I mean, I also feel like you do owe that person a little bit of discretion. You know what I mean? You don't want to be talking about his size to your whole friends.
Or that's where communication comes in. Like sometimes as a couple, you might be open to talking to your other couple friends about it. Like, oh, no, she doesn't like this. And you're just messing around, but you're talking and there's no filters or there's no shaming.
There's a context there that is like, okay, like if we're flinging out like little jokes here and there. Yeah, I get that.
It's up to personal boundaries. Oh, and a lot of the time, sometimes we can say, have you ever said something that, you look back and you're like, oh, you don't feel good about what you said. You overshared.
I've probably done that like 100 times on this podcast.
I do it all the time.
But yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, oh my God, what is that? That's a boundary. So it's like, okay, maybe next time, maybe I shouldn't share this type of, and so it's just with boundaries. The interesting thing is it's a trial and error. Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes we say things, especially when we're growing up, and it's like, or, we're always growing up. Let's be honest.
Facts.
Sadly.
Sadly. I know, right? We never reach adulthood. It's a big ass child.
Hey, some
Benjamin.
people kind of don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where like you check in with yourself and you start changing your boundaries as time goes on. And what you liked before, okay, maybe I liked this type of sexual act and maybe now I don't like it. And that's completely fine. Maybe I was okay with you looking through my phone. Now I'm not okay with you looking through my phone.
Yeah, like things can change. It's not like we, become statues and shit. We're organic beings.
We can't hold people accountable for who they were if that's not who they are in the present.
That's true. That's true. Right. But going back to what I was getting at is like, and maybe this is just because of like what I see in movies and stuff, where I feel that like this is just my interpretation of, again, like based on media that I consume, that women are a little bit more open to talking about those things when they're in relationships to others, or yeah, I think that's the case. I might be wrong, but
Okay.
but yeah, I don't know.
But then what happens when you're going out with someone and then you break off?
break up, or
Break
like,
up.
right.
And then so you start talking about that person and you say, oh no, like he wasn't even good, or he wasn't good in bed, or he
You
wasn't
highlight
this.
the negative
So,
parts, right?
yeah. So it's you kind of still talk about him.
You're trash talking
You're trash
him.
talking. Yeah.
You're-
Okay. Yeah, I get that. And I don't know, because in my experience, and most of like my inner circle of guy friends are
You're humiliating them, and that's part of the toxicity of a relationship. Even though you're not in the relationship anymore, like you're still humiliating the person.
Yeah, still giving.
I mean,
them
a lot.
that
I
energy.
mean, come on, like we're all human.
Even revenge porn comes into this,
oh gosh, revenge porn.
which is also illegal.
It's illegal. It's a class C misdemeanor.
What is revenge porn? I
What is
not in my head,
revenge
like if I knew what
porn?
the hell we were talking about, and now I don't.
Okay, so revenge porn, and it's something that a lot of the high school students do, is when they break up or they're having like relationship problems, they'll post a picture that
Oh,
their girl,
okay,
or
okay,
or
got
they'll
it, got
send
it.
it to all their friends. They'll like
Got
mass
it,
send it.
right.
But now it's against the law as of September 2019, to where if you receive an unwanted, unsolicited nude, you can, that person that sent it could
get
receive up
fined.
to a $500 fine and a
Damn.
Class C misdemeanor.
Damn.
So we're protecting our kids more because that's child pornography.
That is, and also again, like we gotta adjust and adapt to the technology that we now have access to, because that wasn't really that feasible, I would say, like in the early 2000s, 90s. But now it's like instant, like, hey, dude, I'm just gonna airdrop these nudes
Airdrop.
to like
And
everyone.
it's gonna stay there for life.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
Fucking wild. Okay, so whatever. Revenge porn. I was just like, wait, what is revenge porn?
Also part of rape culture.
Also part of rape. Let's talk about rape
Let's talk
culture.
about
Can
rape
we
culture.
ascribe like a sort of a definition to rape culture?
So rape culture, so it starts off as like the normalization of a lot of like mundane things that we may consider like sexist attitudes, rape jokes, locker room banter, unwanted sexual touch. Like even if you're kidding, like like whatever it is, like a lot of people can get away with things by joking around. Catcalling is when you're just like whistling at someone from the street. You know, yelling things at a woman that's walking on the street.
hey.
Right. Flashing, exposing unsolicited nude pics, non-consensual photo or video of somebody. Groping, and it just continues going up. And then in the orange, it's like safe word violations, which you know what that is, right?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Revenge porn, threats, coercion, manipulation, victim blaming and shaming. You know, you're the slut, you're the one who wore this, you know, you were asking for it. No one asks to get sexually assaulted. Then you start going to like the red section, contraceptive sabotage, you know, which is covert condom removal.
Oh, okay.
Or I'm sorry, covert condom removal is different. Contraceptive sabotage is
Poking
not
the condom, or
right,
yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
Not being safe.
Or not allowing for the girl to have access to birth control, or you know, doing something that's going to interfere with the reproductive system, which
Sounds-
belongs to her.
Sounds barbaric as fuck, and like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, again, I can only speak from my personal experience, but it just sounds like shit that I would never do.
And that's
you know
a
what I mean?
huge
Like,
red flag on a
Yeah.
healthy relationship, because it that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, like I don't know. That's fucking wild.
It goes up to molestation, and then drugging, and then rape. And you know, unfortunately, rape isn't even at the top of the pyramid. It's murder. It's
Death.
killing, death. Well, yeah. How many times have you heard of a woman getting killed and right before she was raped or she's found naked?
Right.
Or she was in an abusive relationship and then, most of the time in abusive relationships, sexual assault is present.
Didn't we just have like a huge case that happened like not too long ago that was all over social media that involved like cover-ups potentially, and I don't know what the fuck, or am I tripping? Didn't that happen here? I feel like that.
I know that there was a case that was all over social media.
That they found the body like on one of the parks.
In Nixon around.
Yeah, I don't know. Somewhere in that general area. I don't know. Let's not highlight crazy negative shit. But it just reminded me of that because like at first I was like, wait, I have heard about this a lot because I watch a lot of Law and Order. Thank you, babe, because that's you. And then I was like, wait a minute, real world. Like, do I hear that a lot? Yes, I do. Yeah, that's pretty fucking wild.
And even then, you hear about it in the news, and it's just you're just listening, like you said, to negative things and how sad. But what are you doing to prevent it? And that's what we're here for.
That's exactly what we're here for.
I'm having people on to talk about all this stuff.
Yes.
Because I don't do it enough. So.
Yes.
Oh, we're getting into the depths
Aliens
of it.
on the border.
Yes.
Prevent.
Yeah, dude, we prevent. I don't know. I don't have anything funny to add to that, but we prevent.
Yes. We're raising awareness.
We're raising awareness, dude. Make sure you get consent. You know what I mean?
Make sure you get consent. It makes things funner. If you're not getting consent, it's because you have some unresolved issues, some unresolved trauma.
If it feels like a gray area, step away, my guy. Simple as that.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
Exactly. And for those like that do happen to engage in these behaviors where they're acting violently against women or against men or whatever population, it's up to the person to get help, because without it they most likely won't change, and it's a learned behavior like Ilse was saying.
Yeah, and the reason why I wanted to talk about the idea of rape culture is to try and understand it better, because I feel like maybe I have like a skewed perception on it where there's like initially maybe a little bit of an aversion to subscribe to the idea that there is rape culture, but if we clearly define some of the things that make that up, it becomes easier for me to be like, okay, maybe we were inadvertently or maybe not inadvertently doing it. Not that I influence culture in any way, shape, or form. Again, it's just things that don't necessarily always come into my radar per
Even
se.
music.
You know what I mean?
Music plays a lot of an important role also in
100%. And
in violence.
Pick any rap song that you want to hear, but everybody loves it though. It's just fucking crazy, which is why I think it's funny that like a lot of people try to cancel like some comedians, but then like, dude, just check out any of these rap songs. Do you want to also cancel them? Like,
I mean, it's kind of like, okay, there's a lot of things that I see, a lot of things that I hear, and it's up to what I need to know better as a human being. Like, what is contributing to all these cultures of violence? And as long as I can make that distinction, first of all, I'm probably not going to want to listen to that music. I'm probably not going to laugh at that joke because that's perpetuating like hostility against women or perpetuating, an unrealistic view of sex. And, if it is funny or whatever it is, I'm still not going to really want to outwardly laugh about it or not really make way for that perpetuation to put it in a perspective to make other people think it's okay.
And part of what we also teach is the bystander effect. That is also it's empowering guys, the especially the youth males, to step up and just be not be a bystander.
Step up against violence.
Yes, if you hear your friend saying, "Oh, this bitch, this whatever," degrading a girl or slut shaming or something, be the guy. We had stickers on that, right?
We did. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. So
don't be that guy.
Yeah, be the guy that stands up and be like, hey, that's not cool, man. Like, stuff like that matters.
If
and
you
they make
see
a
something
difference.
going on, like bullying or whatever, stand up. Because majority, that's another thing that we teach at schools. And I keep going back to it, but I mean, this is so fundamental that it's really not what we teach at schools, but it's what everyone else should know, and we're not taught this, is that if something's going on, we as human beings have a responsibility to speak up and defend that person, defend someone that's getting bullied or defend someone that, you know, is in a bad state, because the majority of the time, like research shows, like, and I'm pretty sure you've seen it, if someone falls outside or if someone's not doing well, most people will just walk past them unless they feel it's their responsibility, unless you're called out, like, hey, come help me, you know, Ilse.
And
then no one's going to help them.
There's a lot of social experiments on this on YouTube that you can just Google, and they'll come out that people just walk past somebody that's asking for help, and it's like, oh, like it's like they want something in return, like, oh, what are you gonna give me if I help you? So if not, they'll just keep on going.
It's a mixture of social diffusion, of responsibility diffusion, where, you know, everyone else, we act as a flock. People really are sheep when it comes to being outside. Like, maybe if we saw someone in pain, if it was just us, we would help them. But since we're acting as a norm, and we all have a desire to fit in, whether we consciously know it or not, we're not really going to act upon saving that person, because one, we don't want to be seen as an outsider. We want to be accepted. And so what we teach at the schools is to stand up and be a bystander, stand up against being a bystander and be an active bystander and help that person. And it would create a much safer community.
Be a good Samaritan.
Yeah.
Boom.
We're doing that.
That's badass. And that's true. Like, how many times have I driven past, like, homeless people or whatever, they're asking for change and stuff, and it's just like, peace.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm guilty of it.
It's not necessarily like, we give scenarios, and they're not necessarily with populations that are homeless, but it's like, you know, if your friend was like going through this or
different context, I'm sorry.
I mean, no, but it kind of can, like, okay, it's weird that you say that, because this past weekend I was in Austin, and there was this homeless person, and I had cash on me, but I was reliant on the person that I was with to, like, be the one to, like, give the money or not.
Yeah.
And he didn't have anything, and by the time we were already, like, walking past them, and I thought, oh, afterthought, I have money.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, well, they kept walking, and so then I kept walking, and, you know, but then at the same time, as a bystander, we want to protect ourselves. And sometimes if you jump into the face of violence, you're like, so
you put yourself in harm's way.
So what we teach is there's a lot of minor ways where you can help somebody and not necessarily throw yourself into the fire, because that's pretty scary. You know, you don't want to be injured, or you don't want to also be bullied. So, you know, if someone's being bullied at your school or something's going on in your neighborhood, go to the police station.
We ask,
you know, let them know. And you can be an anonymous tipper. And it's just as simple as that, where you don't have to get involved, but you're still being a good citizen.
I get that. That's, you know, yeah, go for it. You know where it's at, right? Okay, cool. Perfect. Now I get to grill Ilse. No, I'm kidding. So in reference to, like, certain situations like that, like, there's a video that's been going around where, like, this guy is, like, literally downtown here dragging some chick, I think, or something like that. I don't know if you've seen that, but they just drive by and they're like, whoa, that's crazy. I don't know if they did anything or not, and it's just like,
no, I haven't seen it, but it's a thing nowadays that the first thing you do is you pull your phone and record, and it's like, okay, so
this
then
is gonna go viral.
Are you gonna give that to the police, or what are you gonna do that with that recording? Just post it on Facebook, post it on Instagram, and just go viral? What was your good deed of that, or what was the point?
I don't know. It's so crazy. Like, what are some of the other events, or not necessarily events, but I guess, like, other ways that you guys are pushing the awareness, whether it be something like the whole "not in my jeans" or is that did I say it right?
Not in my jeans.
Not in my jeans. Yes. Okay. Perfect. Or other things like that where we're bringing awareness to the community.
Well, previously we did Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, so that's when we did the Healthy Relationships Rock, which you guys weren't a part of, but now that we have you, we'll keep in touch. So getting the youth involved in these projects, or even just telling them, hey, follow our social media, just so they can, if they open that little window, it's like you're getting all this information. And sometimes, one time we even got a message from this girl saying, hey, I'm feeling, I got triggered over the weekend about this because she had been sexually assaulted.
Oh, shit.
So reaching out through our social media, it's super important. Maybe we're not counselors, but I mean, in our program, we have the prevention, the advocacy, and the counseling. So they can get the help. It's free to the community. It's we can provide all of those things for them.
In your experience, I imagine that with the territory, because of the nature of the work that you guys do, there's probably like a lot of crazy. I don't want to. I guess maybe like not negative, but overall just heavy things that you guys encounter. And have you seen like a positive impact or influence that, I mean, just from even what you just said right now, but like the program that you guys have been cultivating and whatnot, like have you seen any sort of like a positive repercussion come from that?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. Well, being in prevention, myself that I just got started, I haven't I'm an advocate because I did the training.
Okay.
But I haven't gone to the calls to the hospital.
Oh, got it.
She has a little bit of the both sides of the story, because we want to prevent, but then she already saw it happening when they get the call. So at least being in prevention, I feel this maybe at the end of our curriculum we'll say like, what did you learn? Or maybe they'll follow our account and we'll see that, okay, something stayed with them. So it's those little things that make us feel like, okay, we
like
accomplished something.
Yeah, like we're making
Yes.
a difference.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty crazy. I was just saying, like, I feel like you guys must run into a lot of like heavy like situations, right? Like,
Oh, yeah. As working for the Rape Crisis Center, we're on call and 24/7. If we get a call from the hospital, if someone that's in a crisis, someone that's about to like get an exam because they were recently assaulted, we're there for them and we're advocating for them. So, I guess this is a good place to say that if you or anyone that you know were to be sexually assaulted, the exam allows for up to 5 days of the DNA of the assaulter to be on the survivor's body. So you have up to 5 days to go to a hospital and get the sexual assault forensic exam, and it's for purposes of pressing charges. But that comes with time. So if you don't want to press charges after you take the exam, that's completely fine. But at least you have that DNA. Most likely, hopefully, sometimes, it isn't found. But in a lot of cases, yeah, you will have that DNA where the lab will process it. And then if you do want to press charges, it's up to you. And you have up to 2 years, I believe, up to 2 years to decide if you do want to press charges. And that's what survivors have that right. And you have an advocate, which I could go to the hospital. We have the advocate coordinator that can go, or one of the volunteers that will be there throughout the whole hospital visit, throughout the whole anxiousness of it, everything. We'll be there for you.
And I also want to add that thankfully, before things in the sexual assault it was very bad for survivors. But now I can say, because we watched Remember the documentary, and it's gotten a lot better for survivors. They actually, when they do the SANE exam, it's a kit that comes with everything that they perform the exam with. But now they actually have tracking numbers. So they don't get lost. They used to get lost. Millions of exams used to get lost, and survivors didn't get their justice. And now it's a thing that they have tracking numbers, and they give that survivor that information so they can know where it's in the
where in the process
stage,
Oh, okay.
process
that their kit is being processed.
It goes from the hospital to
the lab in
forensics,
Austin, if it
and
happened
so
in
on.
Texas.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool technology that's being updated as the time passes and as people are becoming more woke with sexual assault awareness.
As we kind of enter like the wrapping portion on here, what are some pieces of advice that you could offer to people that may either find themselves currently in a situation where they're being, I don't know, sexually abused, or in an at-risk situation, or people that have gone through that already? Like, what are some things that you would offer them?
Well, they can always seek services and counseling and advice, and that's what our program is here for. So Ilse and I do more of the prevention work, but we are also a part of the whole program because we're 4 of us. So it's my director, it's the advocate coordinator, which is for intervention services, and then me and Ilse, and then we also have the counselor.
Okay.
And so she's kind of, because she's really doing counseling all day, every day. So it doesn't matter what time or when or how far in the past the assault happened, you can seek services with us for free. And so we do offer those services to the community, men, women. I know children do go to the CAC, Children's Advocacy Center, but as far as other information, they're welcome to DM us. Sometimes it's easier to just DM.
And
So our account,
the Instagram is at sassy_scandal. Okay,
scan,
cool.
exactly. And they can just call too for general information. We also have a hotline number if they're going through a crisis, but they can DM us at any time.
There you guys have it. Is there anything you guys want to plug in for other than like the Not in My Jeans? Or?
Well, for them to join us this
April 9th.
April 9th.
April 9th. Okay.
We're having a 1 billion rising walk.
Okay.
And it's something that the advocate coordinator is.
Well, she's in charge of that project because that's part of intervention.
Intervention.
Yeah.
So we are having that. So you can go ahead and take a look at our social medias. We will be posting about it. The details are coming together. So when this airs, it'll be closer to the time. So it's very exciting. We're also gonna have poster making.
Okay.
So we'll be posting that on social media. So anyone from the community can come and make their posters.
Yes.
Also, so April 1st is the first exhibit at Los Olvidados, right?
Right,
Yes.
correct.
Okay, and then April 9th is the
walk. 1
okay.
billion rising walk.
walk.
And
okay.
we're also having a little exhibit, and it's going, well, hopefully it goes through with Vale from Cultura.
Yeah.
And it's going to be downtown. It's going to be part of Caminarte.
Oh, okay.
So my group, Art Space, so there's an art group that I'm a part of, and they got to do some paintings, and then people from previous years have donated their paintings, and it's vagina art, just anything that brings sexual assault awareness. Right, correct.
Okay.
And so we're going to have that space here downtown, and that is going to be on April 2nd on a Saturday.
Okay, Saturday.
Caminarte.
Perfect. Any, do you guys want to plug your personal social medias or anything? You don't have to or anything, but anything else that you want to plug?
Mine's super boring. No. Don't go. No.
No, I mean, stay safe out there. Help keep other people safe. And if anyone took anything from this, I hope you go and spread it and be good people, because we all want to be surrounded by good people.
For sure.
We all want to be safe.
For sure.
So we have to contribute to that safeness.
There you guys have it. And of course, follow us at AOTBcast. That's our Instagram. Shout out to our patrons. Now we have 3. Shout out to Alex. What's up? Kind of fit, kind of fat. Shout out to Ernie. Shout out to Isaac. Of course, you guys have been there from the beginning now. And a huge shout out once again to our sponsors, Por Vida Tattoos at porvidacs.com. Follow them on Instagram at Por Vida Tattoos. Shout out to Consafos. Go to their website, consafosprintco.com. They've got a bunch of cool shit on there. Follow them on Instagram at CSPrintco. Shout out to Por Vida Tattoo Fest. Again, that website is porvidatattoofest.com, and follow them on Instagram as well at Por Vida Tattoo Fest. Subscribe to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/AOTBcast. Get access to cool stuff. Our patrons are going to hear this before anyone else, so they'll listen to it probably like tomorrow or something. And then everyone else will hear this on Wednesday at 7:30 when it airs finally. So when you hear this, that means that in a couple of days from now, Friday, April the 1st, we'll be hosting the 4th Dimension Fridays at Cultura Beer Garden. So that's going to be at 9 p.m. as per usual upstairs. We're going to be we have one confirmed guest on the panelists, Marlene Uribe, the host of the That's Just My Opinion podcast, right here on this cool ass sticker thing that I have on my water jug. And we're going to get into something a little bit different. I know we always choose like conspiracy stuff and all of that. This time I want to get into something that was a little bit uplifting, and the official title for it, I guess, is 4th Dimension Fridays, Open Your Third Eye. We're going to talk a little bit about meditation, frequencies, energies, manifesting your dreams into reality, and all that cool stuff. So join us there. It's going to be a fun event. We'll find out who the 4th panelist is by then. But thank you so much for hanging out with us again, and we'll see you guys next time. We love you. Bye.